Hi guys, today I'm going to share a case study where a single line of code used 3 GB of heap, JVM heap in OpenSearch. Okay, so what happened is that yesterday I noticed that our JVM memory pressure suddenly increased from around 60% to nearly 80%. You can see clearly in the screenshot. Okay, so it was around at 60% here, so it suddenly went up to 80%. Okay, so I checked the CPU usage was normal, cluster was healthy, it was green. Okay, there was no pending task, so I was not sure what actually happened, so I started investigating. So I will show you the step by steps that I tried to resolve this issue and how I identified the issue. Okay, so here if you see our cluster, OpenSearch cluster is healthy, totally healthy, starting like it is a last 7 days data. So if you see the JVM pressure is the straight line, but suddenly on the 27th, okay, it spiked to 80%. Okay, so my first approach was I try to check the cluster health first. Okay, so when I check the cluster health, it is green. Okay, so everything looks healthy. So if the cluster health is green, now I have to debug more. Okay, so then I try to check the field data. Okay, the field data usage of the cluster. So I extracted the field data where I saw a strange thing. You see here, every field, dot keyword field is using almost 0 size. Okay, but this underscore id field is using gigabytes of the size. You say 2.6 GB, okay, 1.4 GB, 2.7 GB, so it is using multiple gigabytes of field data. So now my next step was like, I want to know which OpenSearch query is using the underscore field. Okay, so I try to check the source code. Okay, I look through all the source code and try to find like where we are using this underscore id field. Okay, so then I found this query. Okay, this query was to find the documents of a particular user. Okay, sorted by underscore id. Okay, so at the first glance, like, this query looks totally fine, perfectly fine, there is no issue, but something is going wrong here. Okay, as per our field data usage, this field is using a large heap. Okay, so something is going wrong here. So then I investigated like why using the underscore id is taking a lot of heap. Okay, so here is my explanation. Okay, so what actually happened is that underscore id field is a metadata field. It is not a doc values. Okay, it is not a part of the source in the OpenSearch. Okay, it is a metadata field. So whenever we use this underscore id field, JVM starts building the field data. Okay, and this field data stays in the JVM heap, not in the memory. Okay, so as the usage of this field increases, so field data usage is also increasing, so which results in increase of JVM heap. Okay, so I am using the sorting by id. Okay, it builds the field metadata. Okay, this field data stores in the JVM heap. Okay, it's and which results in an increase of the heap usage. Okay, so now I wanted to check like what can be used to replace this sort thing. Okay, so then I replaced my query to use id dot keyword instead of underscore id. This id dot keyword, like, this id is a part of the source. Okay, it is a doc value. Okay, so whenever we use a doc value, okay, the memory stays on the disk. Okay, so so it does not spike the JVM heap. Okay, so I used id.keyword. Okay, and it result in decrease. I'm not saying like decrease in the JVM heap, because even after fixing this issue, your field data usage is still high. Okay, but the thing is that after replacing underscore id with id.keyword, my field data usage stays stable. Okay, it didn't grow further. Okay, so yeah, the previous field data built by this underscore id will be cleared when garbage collector runs. Okay, so what I did is like, so I replaced this underscore id with id.keyword. Okay, this id.keyword is a doc value, so it uses a minimal heap uses. Why? Because it stays on the disk. Okay, but instead this underscore id, here the JVM builds the field metadata. Okay, field data, and it stays in the JVM heap, which spikes the JVM memory pressure. Okay, yeah. So yeah, the thing is that, okay, even a single line of code, okay, can reduce a bigger problems in your production environment. Okay, so in my case, this underscore id, okay, is replaced with id.keyword, so it resolved the problem for us. So but in the first glance, using this sort field by the underscore id is also looks fine in the first glance, until I observe that, okay, like JVM pressure started increasing. Okay, so yeah, the thing is, if you have any issue, like if you are troubleshooting unexplained JVM heap growth, so CPU or the cluster health is not just the problem. Okay, always check the field data, always inspect your queries, understand how your sort fields are stored or used. Okay, so the basic thing is that sometimes the biggest production issues come from the smallest pieces of code. Okay, so yeah, that's it, guys. Okay, so if you have ever faced similar OpenSearch or Elasticsearch issue, okay, please let me know in the comments, and please subscribe for more real world software engineering case studies. Okay, so thank you guys, thank you so much. I will see you in the next video. Thank you, guys.